everyone! So I have this really beautiful wedding dress next to me here. This was actually donated to me by a lady who lives quite locally to me, and she heard about what I do and basically donated her mother's wedding dress in the hopes that I could use it for something or transform it into something new, give it a new life. I believe this dress is from 1958, and so that is what today's project is, which is really exciting. This is going to be the first time doing that on a longer YouTube video for you, so you can like fully see the process, and I've got a really good idea of what I want to do with this dress. I don't take transforming vintage wedding dresses lightly. It's quite a controversial topic and a lot of people get really upset when I rework vintage dresses, particularly vintage wedding dresses. I'm always really careful about the way in which I upcycle dresses, especially if they're vintage. I always try and be as respectful of the original dress as I can and make sure that I'm not taking away sort of the essence of the original style of the dress, if that makes sense. My style is that I usually tend to add things rather than take them away. It's just about enhancing what's already there. This dress is absolutely gorgeous, and so I'm going to try that on for you now. So now you've seen what the dress looks like on, and it is so beautiful. I just about fit into it, but I can't, unfortunately, I can't do the hook and eye at the top myself. I'm worried that if I try and stretch too much, I'm going to tear the lace. So most of it is in really good condition. The bodice underneath is really sturdy. The skirt and the underskirts and petticoats are all in really good condition as well. So I definitely want to keep as much of this dress like intact as I can. I absolutely love this detailing here. I think that is so pretty. I adore the lace sleeves, and I am such a fan of like long sleeved wedding dresses. I just think something about them is so elegant and that kind of like vintage look. The sleeves are so beautiful, however they are really delicate. So the only thing that's concerning me is the lace on the sleeves, particularly in the underarm sections or anywhere, like I don't know if you can see, like it's starting to tear, and this isn't just from me wearing it, like I think this is just a particularly delicate section because of all the movement required here, and you can see like sort of how delicate this lace is. So for example, like you can see little bits here where it's starting to tear. Same with the underarms on both arms. You can see like the lace is super delicate, like all this section is starting to tear away as well. They are literally just gonna tear if this gets worn much more. When Lynn donated this dress to me, she was really hoping I could do something with it so that it could be reworn, and I think if this dress is going to be reworn, unfortunately the sleeves are gonna have to come off. Please don't hate me. Just simply chopping off a sleeve, I know to some of you that might not be a big deal, but this dress is from the 1950s, and so I don't take that lightly making that decision. I do think in this particular instance that is probably the best thing to do in order to preserve the rest of the dress and allow the dress to be worn and enjoyed in future as well. But of course I don't like to waste anything, and so I do have a plan for what I'm going to use the fabric of the sleeves for, which I will share with you shortly. I wanted to make a little bit of a festive kind of themed video because I'm currently filming this in November. I'm hoping to post this just before Christmas time, and so I wanted to do something a little bit festive. So I've been sort of thinking about things I could do, and one thing I've been really inspired by lately, I mean I say lately, I've kind of always found this really inspiring, but I've been really inspired by ballet and ballet aesthetics, but particularly vintage ballet. And obviously ballet is notoriously quite a festive thing. A lot of people go to the theatre at Christmas time and go to watch ballet performances at Christmas. That's something that me and my mum have done a few times as well over the years. I was thinking, what if I created something inspired by all of that with this dress and hopefully make it a little bit festive as well. So we're just going to get straight into it, and I'm going to talk you through my ideas as we go along. Let's go. I've now removed the sleeves, so they're in a little pile here, and I'm going to save these because I think I'm going to make something out of them. And this is kind of where we're at. So I've pinned the lace down to the bodice, the layer of lace that was over the top, because it was like loose before, whereas now I've like pinned it down and loosely stitched it, and then I'm going to kind of go over it with a machine, so that's all in place. And then we also have the neckline as well, which I'm going to do something with. I've essentially cut it with like an extra inch, and so I'm going to fold that behind, I think, and that should like strengthen all of that, and then figure out where that's going to like sit. So I basically just need to, you can sort of see the inside here. I'm going to stitch all this down with a machine, and then I'll have to tidy this up on the inside somehow later with some like bias binding or something. So I'm going to stitch that down, fold that, stitch that to strengthen it, and yeah, then we'll go from there. This is all stitched in place, so I need to maybe tidy some sections up later on, and particularly on the inside, but overall we've got the lace down to the bodice. It's all been trimmed down, and now I have the original neckline, which I need to figure out what I'm going to do with. There's a couple of different options. So one would be to have them kind of like over like straps like this, and then they'd just fix in place at the back. Originally they kind of were supposed to be like this, but obviously because the back doesn't have the lace on it anymore, that's not going to work. So it's whether they'll work as straps, which is one option. The other option might be to have them more like off the shoulder, which does feel quite ballet to me, but again, it might not be that practical for like raising arms and things, so I'm not really sure, but I'm going to leave it for now, and add some decoration first before I decide. So the first thing I'm going to do to make this more festive is I've got this absolutely gorgeous silk velvet ribbon in this like deep kind of like ruby colour almost, but it's so beautiful and it drapes really beautifully as well. So I want to create something that feels quite like high-end, and I think that the silk velvet will work as a like really nicely as a material next to the lace, and it'll work with the vintage materials that we've got here because it's not synthetic or anything, so it feels more authentic. And also I was kind of thinking about like ribbons in ballet and like the way that like they lace up around the ballet shoes, like on the ankle and things. So I kind of want to add some kind of crisscross bow kind of detail with this, and I think as well, just to add that kind of like festive feel, I definitely think some kind of bow would be really beautiful and also still in keeping with that kind of like vintage look. So I think I'm gonna like have a play around like winding this around the bodice, and then we'll hand stitch all of the velvet in place, and then once I kind of know what I'm doing with that, then I can see how the neckline will work best against that, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm excited because the decoration part is always my favourite part, so this is kind of where things get exciting, where I get to have like a play around. So yeah, let's go. The red velvet ribbon onto the bodice, and obviously this will close when the zipper's fully zipped, so it'll match up at the back. I have a vision and I'm hoping I can execute it. So it's going to kind of have this like crisscross effect on the front, and then I'm hoping to do a bit of a bow design here. But having it like fully stitched down, sort of inspired by some ribbon work that I've seen on some like 18th century dresses and things like that. So I want to give that a try and do something quite sculptural with the ribbon. But what I'm realising is I don't have any thread in this colour, so I think I need to pop out to my local craft shop, see if I can find some thread, and then I can obviously start stitching all this in place. So that's where we're at currently. I also need some lunch and some fresh air. To the craft shop. From my little walk around the village, and I got the goods. I also ended up going in the charity shops, which I feel like this happens in every video now, and secured myself some other little goodies for other future projects. Here are the threads that I got. Annoyingly, I didn't take a sample with me, so I got like a bright red and then like a darker red, which might be the one, to be fair. I don't know which is better, but I'll use them anyway. So I think my plan is, now I feel nice and cozy now that I've come back in the house, so I think I'm actually going to take this upstairs with me, make myself a really nice coffee, and I'm going to start slowly hand stitching this in front of the TV. And I think I might put a little cheeky Christmas film on in the background, which it's early because it, like, the time of filming this, it is November, and I am not normally one of those people that is like Christmas like really early. I like it to just be from December 1st onwards, but as I am working on a festive project, I figured I could probably get away with putting something festive on in the background, so I think that's what I'm going to do because I think that'd be quite nice. So yeah, let's start sewing it all down. So I'm finally revisiting this dress after a couple of weeks of having to like focus on other things. It is cold. It's getting to like the end of November now, and so it started snowing a little bit. It's quite icy, and so I've got my fleece on. I'm just trying to warm up. I've been outside like all day today. Yeah, I'm excited to get back on it with this dress. So where I got up to was I ended up stitching down like the top of the bow detailing, and then now I need to figure out where the tail ends of the ribbon are going to be placed, and then I can like hand stitch all that down. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm trying to figure out if it's best to place it when it's like hanging on the mannequin, or lay it flat so that I can get it perfectly accurate. I don't really know, but anyways, that's what I'm going to do now. I have just got out of the bath. It is actually my day off today, and do you know, this is the best thing about having a home studio. For me personally, I just find it like so nice that if I happen to have like a spare half an hour, even just like a spare 20 minutes, so nice being able to have a studio at home where I could just like pop in, get like a little bit of work done or do something fun. So that's what's happened this evening. I've just kind of found that actually like I've had more time today than I thought I did. I just thought now would be a good time to like maybe squeeze in another hour of working on this dress. I've got to make the most of the free time that I can get in here when I can, and if that means being in here in my pyjamas, then here we are. And on that note as well, as much as I am trying to take like YouTube seriously, it is also something that I'm not able to like monetize just yet. I'm still very much like starting out in terms of like long form videos, and so unfortunately I can't fit like YouTube project time into my work schedule. It all has to be in my like spare time, so literally it's just like on the weekends or just like whenever I can. And so that's kind of, yeah, why I'm in here now in my pyjamas. I just have to fit it around other things. I do hope that one day I'll be able to like actually carve out more time for it, but until I'm kind of able to monetize it, I just yeah, there's just no way I can cut into like other things that are more pressing, like commissions, and I also have a second job as well, so a lot going on. I suppose that's maybe a nice segue into saying thank you to my patrons. I do have a Patreon. You are welcome to have a look at it if you want and if you are interested in supporting me. So I've got 3 tiers on there currently, starting at literally just $1 a month. I know that like a lot of us don't have a lot of money to spend right now, but I've managed to grow a good following on social media, and so like even if like a fraction of my following were able to donate $1 a month, that would make such a huge difference to me. It would increase the quality of my videos, it would mean that I could dedicate more time to making videos, and therefore I would have more to share with you as well, more projects and interesting things that I could be working on that you could take inspiration from as well. So Patreon is really the thing that is kind of helping me keep going and working towards those personal projects that I would still like to do on the side of work projects. And full transparency, there aren't really any perks other than you have my undying gratitude and your name will be credited on every video as well. So if you're interested in supporting me and watching the channel grow and knowing that you were a part of it and helping me on my journey, then yeah, I'll leave a link to that in the description and you can go and check it out. If you can't afford to do that, then no problem at all. If you could like this video, if you want to subscribe, you can do. If you want to share this video with someone that you think might enjoy watching it, those things are all really helpful as well. So I just appreciate you all for being here. And with that, let's get back to the video. So you can see behind me where I've got up to on the dress. So if I move this closer, all the ribbon is now stitched down and this looks really beautiful. I'm really happy with it actually. And you know, the best thing about this as well, even though this is like hours of work and so many tiny little hand stitches, if I ever wanted to take this off, it would be completely reversible. I could easily just unpick the whole thing and the dress would go back to being plain again. I still haven't decided on the straps. I'm gonna basically do that last, try it on and see what I prefer. I did have one more idea of what I wanted to do with this dress, just to like add a little bit of extra whimsy to it. So I was thinking about, you know how in like traditional ballets or operas, like in the theatre, the principal dancer or principal performer would get given flowers at the end of the performance on stage and people would throw roses and flowers onto the stage. I kind of feel kind of weirdly inspired by that. So I had this idea. I happen to have a ginormous bag of artificial roses, because of course I do. So I actually got these off of Vinted. They were used for someone's like wedding decorations and then they just like sold them in bulk afterwards on Vinted. So I originally bought this bag actually because of these like pink purple ones, which I was planning on using for another project, and they weren't quite the right colour, but in the same batch there's actually all of these like red ones as well. So I kind of had this idea to like trap loads of roses in the hem of the skirt in all the tulle, so like whoever's worn it on stage has kind of like swept up all the flowers that have been thrown onto the stage. I know this seems like really random, but I think it will look really good. Yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna pin a load of these on, see what I think, and then I can hand stitch those on. And again, if I don't like it or if I want to change it in future, they can all just come off. That'll be completely reversible as well. almost finished with this dress now. There really isn't much left to do. So I stitched all of the roses on yesterday. All that's left to do really is fix the straps down, whether that's off the shoulder or not. I still haven't decided. I still haven't tried it on. But there is one more thing that I wanted to do actually. If you remember earlier in the video, I said that I had a plan for the sleeves that I very sadly had to remove. So as you know, this dress was very kindly donated to me by Lynn and her sisters, and I thought that it would be really nice to give something back to them to say thank you. And so I am thinking I'd like to make them something each out of the fabric that we have left over from the sleeves. I was thinking maybe like a little keepsake bag or something, so they've each got a piece of their mum's wedding dress to keep, and also, you know, I don't know if they've got any of her jewellery or anything else that maybe they would want to keep in the bags too. So I think that would be a really lovely way to use the leftover fabric from the sleeves. Obviously some of it was really delicate, so I need to be careful about which sections I choose. I'm going to avoid anything that was like too close to the underarms because that was starting to tear, but I think like the rest of the fabric might still be usable. I might line it with something else just to strengthen it a little bit as well, and because it'll be a little bag and not be like worn on the body, hopefully the lace will last and won't continue to tear or anything like that. Yeah, I'm gonna give that a go. So as I am sewing these bags, I actually wanted to share with you a little bit more background to this dress and why it's so sentimental to Lynn and her sisters that very kindly donated it to me. So I asked if they wanted to say anything about their mum, who was the original owner of this dress, and they've sent me a few words, and so I'm going to read those out for you now. This wedding dress was worn on the 30th of August 1958 in London when our parents married. They had met at a nurse's dance the previous year. Our mother had come to England in 1948 from France. She trained as a nurse in the UK and was very proud to work for the NHS, which had only recently been established. Our mother was born in Soissons, a town in the Aisne department in northern France, in 1928. She and her family fled to another part of northern France as the country was invaded by the German Nazi army. When ordered to return a short time later by the occupying forces, they found that their home had been burnt to the ground during the invasion. The family of four were not wealthy, times were hard and food was short during the occupation. This led to our mother being malnourished, and towards the end of the war, she was assessed by the Red Cross, who provided additional food and medical advice. It was for that reason that we were raised to respect and appreciate the amazing work that the Red Cross do, and to donate as a way of thanking them for their support. After our parents died, we did not know what to do with the wedding dress. We wanted it to be cared for and to be granted a new life. We were therefore delighted that Meg was happy to take it on. We hope that whoever wears it, once Meg has worked her magic, appreciates and cherishes it the way we all have. We are also very grateful to Meg for providing us with an opportunity to promote the magnificent work of the Red Cross, an organisation so vital to our mother and millions more over the years. Lynn, Nicole and Marie-Anne. Okay, so I'm filming this on my phone because my battery died on my camera, and I'm trying to figure out where these straps should go, and something just isn't sitting right with me. I feel like this is contrasting too much with this. No matter if I have it like on my shoulders or off the shoulder, it's just, well, the thing is, I think off the shoulder might work better, but then I was like, I won't have any mobility in my arms at all because this just isn't really long enough, and I'd have to add in some like other flowers. So do you know what I actually think would look so good is if this was just like a proper sweetheart bodice without the straps, and this, I feel like this kind of needs to go like that. Like, I think that is so much more beautiful and still very 1950s. I just feel nervous, like, taking away more of the dress. But then I thought I can use these flowers to maybe create, like, a choker. I could also add them to the little bags that I made for Lynn and her sisters. So I thought maybe each bag could have like a couple of flowers like hand stitched onto them. Oh, I don't know, I just feel like nervous cutting into it, but you know when it's just like not working, and I just like the rest of it I love so much. and I feel like it still is in keeping with the era of the dress. As long as everything gets used, yeah. But I felt like I had to film that to let you know what I was doing, rather than just do it and then it'd be like a total surprise. So that's what I'm gonna do. My camera isn't charged, so I might not film it. I might just leave it now until the reveal, and then you can, yeah, see the whole thing when it's finished. So I decided to finish off this whole outfit with a pair of ballet shoes. Now, I just got a second-hand pair of pointe shoes on Vinted because I did used to have a pair of pointe shoes that were actually mine that I used to wear for classes when I was younger, but I already did something with those, which is another YouTube video project actually, so feel free to go check out that video if you're interested. But yeah, I just wanted a pair to go specifically with this outfit, and so I got these second-hand off of Vinted, and I'm going to add some ribbons and things to them, but I want them to be red to go with the dress, and I was trying to figure out what kind of fabric paint I should get, or whether to dye them. And ultimately I decided, because these are literally just for me, to just grab a couple of red marker pens from the post office, and I'm literally just going to colour them in red. And I think that'll do the trick, to be honest, and then I can stitch some ribbons on and everything. So that's what I'm going to do now. I have a coffee and I'm just going to put a YouTube video on and yeah, colour these in red. Hopefully it'll work. I don't know if it'll be too bright, but we'll see. And then it'll be time for the big reveal. Okay, hopefully I can brighten this up on screen because it is so dark in here. I am really struggling to film this dress, I'm not gonna lie. I'm hoping that the lighting was okay. It's December now, the days are really short. I also live in a very old house, and so there is not a lot of natural light. The windows are all quite small. Where the sun can come through the window is really uneven. There's not many places in the house where I can actually film like landscape, so it's okay when I'm filming like reels and stuff, portraits, I can sort of like squeeze myself into a smaller space. But yeah, trying to film landscape is something that I am finding quite difficult with YouTube videos, especially when I'm trying to like film the final, you know, thing that I've made. So if I used some like portrait footage and stuff from my phone, that is why, just because my phone seems to be able to pick up on the lighting a little bit better. Anyway, enough of that, let's talk about how this project actually went. Pros and cons and all that kind of thing. I still stand by my decision to remove the sleeves and the neckline, and I'm gonna just show you the little bags that I made for Lynn and her sisters. So these are all the little bags. So these are the little bags that I made for them. They're in the same colours as the project with the red ribbon and all the little sequin flowers. So I think they're gonna really love these. I'm really excited to send them to them. Another thing that I like completely forgot to mention at the start of this project was obviously I wanted to do something kind of festive, which was one of the reasons I wanted to incorporate red into this dress. But the other reason is because I kind of wanted to reflect the Red Cross charity colours as well. So I thought it'd be a really nice nod to that as well, to incorporate the red, and that's why I added red ribbons to the little bags as well. I did also make a matching choker out of the leftover lace that was here on the neckline. So I think that is really pretty as well, because it's quite thick, because the lace is quite thick. It just feels a little bit too heavy to go with the rest of the dress, just from like a styling perspective, so that's why I didn't wear it for the big reveal. But I still think it's really beautiful, and I can like wear this with other things as well and swap it out. So it's really nice to like have that option too. In terms of the red ribbon detailing, for my first go at like hand stitching this kind of like motif, I'm really happy with it as a first attempt. There is a part of me that wishes I had known sooner that I was going to remove this section, because I maybe would have started the red like right at the top rather than having this band of white. At the point at which I decided to kind of remove this section, you know, I'd already hand stitched all of this down, and it's like hundreds and hundreds of tiny little stitches, and I was like, I do not have time to undo that whole thing again to like move it up higher. And I also didn't want to start moving this lower either, just because it's a nicer fit where it currently is. So that's maybe something that I would change. I do love the roses at the bottom of the skirt just kind of hidden in there. That's really lovely as well. In the end, I actually preferred styling this as more of a 1950s-esque vintage kind of dress. I actually think that ended up working out much nicer than the whole ballet aesthetic, which is so interesting because that's kind of like what inspired the whole design in the first place. So like if I just show you the shoes, I'm actually really chuffed with the slippers just in and of themselves. Even though this was like a really last minute decision with marker pens, a glue gun, and then some random bits of ribbon that I had in my stash, like, are they just absolutely gorgeous? So I'm really happy with how the dress turned out, and I'm really happy with how these turned out, but kind of more as separate pieces. When I was actually wearing these with the dress, I just don't think it looked quite right. I still think it looked nice, but ultimately I think the dress just looked better styled as more of an evening dress or wedding dress with my little like white heels, as opposed to the ballet slippers. It didn't end up looking that much like a ballerina's dress in the end, as much as like that was the inspiration to begin with. So yeah, with this dress I'm unsure whether I'm gonna pick her. So I'm still undecided what I'm actually going to do with this dress, whether I'm going to sell it, rent it out. I'm hoping to do some wedding fairs and things in future, because I do a lot of wedding dress commissions, so it might be something that I use for exhibitions, on displays and that kind of thing. Either way, I'm going to make sure that it gets worn and appreciated. To conclude, the initial vision that I had, I think, worked really well as a starting point in terms of inspiration, and ultimately I really love the result, even though the result is different, I think, than kind of what I had in my head. And I really think that the materials I chose to use, particularly this silk velvet ribbon, I definitely think that works well with like the vintage lace and stuff. It's a really nice combination. So I'm going to leave a link in the description to the Red Cross charity website if you would like to make a donation. They have some really important campaigns going over there at the moment, so definitely check that out, and I'm going to put it in my link tree as well. I also of course want to say a massive thank you to Lynn, Nicole and Marie-Anne for sending this dress to me and trusting me with such an important piece of their family history. I hope I did it justice. I want to say thank you to my patrons for supporting me and helping me to keep going. Hopefully I can start to make more videos like this as well in future. So yeah, an absolute massive thank you to my patrons. I am so grateful. If you'd like to become a patron, the link to that is also in the description. And thank you to everyone for watching the video, anyone that's interacted, liked, shared, commented. I massively appreciate it. It really helps me out. I loved this project. Anything with like an added level of sentimental value is something that I would love to do more of. I'd love to work on some more heirloom dresses and things like that as well, and you know, bring you along for the journey. So yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you all in the new year. Have a wonderful holiday season. So with that, I'm sending you lots of love, and I will see you in the new year.